This absolute unit is the EV9, the biggest, most expensive car that Kia has ever sold. Think of it as 75 grand's worth of all-electric Korean Range Rover, really, and a sign that besides that weird new badge, things for Kia are going to change. Come on, tide's coming in. You see, you don't build something the scale of an EV9 or something this confident looking unless you're trying to make a statement. And what I think that statement might be is, yes, Kia's very happy that your grandma likes hers and it's long warranty, but maybe there could be another reason to buy a Kia beyond cheap and cheerful. So, to find out, I've brought this one to the island of Ibiza, off the east coast of Spain. And now, I'm going to try and justify why. Shall we go?
So, an enormous, boxy, family-swallowing Kia on the world's most infamous party island. What's going on?
You see, becoming the clubbing party capital of the world, well, it definitely put Ibiza on the map, but it also annoyed its locals, its police, and the government. So this little island has basically spent the last decade trying to reinvent itself and become more than just the place that you go when you want to projectile vomit into someone's bikini.
Local authorities experimented with grants of money for hoteliers looking to build accommodation that was 5 stars or above. They've clamped down on noise limits at the beach clubs, and Ibiza is trying to re-emerge as a world leader in sustainable tourism. Instead of ever bigger super clubs, the islanders are working on schemes to capture rainwater, eradicate landfill, and protect the local habitat of hedgehogs.
Basically, Ibiza decided to team going green and sustainable with going up market. And that, if you'll allow my tortured analogy, brings me to a Kia stuffed with seats, technology, some of which is quite annoying, and costing 75 grand, that also promises it can help you save the planet.
And when the views are this stunning, that last point becomes even more important. Ibiza is a beautiful island when you get away from the nightlife and just take a look at it. So let me talk you around some of the EV9's green inside secrets.
So you jump inside and you think, "Cool, blimey, it's like every other modern SUV. I've got a nice wide dashboard and loads of screens in front of me, of course. Nice and sharp and full of features, I'm sure, but this is a bit of a Friday afternoon job. The climate control is right behind the steering wheel. So that's a bit untidy, but a bit more common sense here. Lots of sockets and so much storage. You've got cup holders, you've got charging, you've got cubby holes and more cup holders and more space in the bins. So loads of space to lose stuff, but if you want to lose yourself in relaxation, get the 6-seater version with these 2 individual captain's chairs in the middle. Pop the footrest out, recline the backrest, nestle into this incredibly comfortable headrest and relax. But I promised you eco credentials as well, and they're actually everywhere. Most of the plastic you see in here is recycled or it comes from bioplastic. So basically it's made from crops and plants, not oil-based products. The paint that's been used to decorate it has fewer nasty chemicals, and the floor mats come from recaptured fishing nets, which helps out the dolphins. Do you mind? I'm trying to have a sleep.
But it's what it's made out of that will get you on David Attenborough's Christmas card list. The plastic trim is either bioplastic, made from renewable crops like sugarcane, corn, or some old sawdust, or it's just been recycled.
And back here, there's even more stuff to please Greta. The stitching is recycled, the stuffing in these headrests, that's grown from old plants, and so's the soundproofing that makes this thing nice and quiet. And as you can see, there's enough room for one strapping adult to sit here and still fit one back there. And there's no cows in here either. This isn't leather, it's eco polyurethane, which doesn't sound very premium, does it? But no, the premiumness comes from the fact that these seats will recline, they will heat and cool you, and that one will even give you a massage. Ah, yes, Kia, right there. Okay, so what if you're interested in how a car drives? I know, crazy idea, but maybe some people are. So actually, I'm actually going to pull over for a second because I've been driving around in this car for a couple of days and I've never driven anything ever that bongs so much. It has so much driver assistance technology. It's just constantly singing at you. There we go, bing, bong. You've got within 1 kilometre an hour of the speed limit. You've looked away from the dashboard for a split second to, I don't know, check your mirrors. That's what this little gizmo's doing. It's warning you about the white lines. It's warning you about the weather changing probably. So luckily you can turn that off in the touchscreen, which is really safe to do while you're driving, which is why I've pulled over. Bear with me. Right, now the life-saving technology isn't playing a symphony. What's the EV9 like? Well, mainly big, enormous, immense in fact. And okay, maybe not if you're an American and it's coming to America, it's going to feel like a tiny little Matchbox car there, isn't it? But everywhere else in the world, this feels huge. There's a lot of metal around you. The bonnet line is very high, and despite the fact that this thing is festooned with cameras that look down the side to check your blind spots for you, cameras doing the job of the rear view mirror, cameras in the front and the back and the surround view ones that you can play with down here. You've got all this assistance and lots of bonging to go with it, but it doesn't shrink around you in town, this car, and might be a pain if you are going to use it on a lot of school runs. It's funny because you don't really have a massively commanding high up Range Rover or G-Wagon style driving position, but just because of how huge it feels, you don't feel like a motorist, you feel like a captain or an admiral. Ahoy there!
Now, if you get onto an open road, you can slightly shrug off that sense of bulk by flooring the throttle because the EV9 absolutely flies. The twin motor version develops 380 brake horsepower and more torque than a Ford GT, so it's seriously fast. 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds is Civic Type R fast.
But you know what? I really struggle to care about the whole speed thing. I mean, all EVs are stupidly fast. There's going to be an even more stupidly fast version of the EV9 when they do the GT with over 600 brake horsepower and hopefully wipe down seats. I'm actually more interested in slowing down because that's what helps you drive an EV efficiently. Kia does that really well. Okay, you've got these paddles behind the steering wheel. I know you've seen it before, the different regen levels, but it's just really well calibrated. I guess that means we should talk about range. So Kia claims for this GT Line S with all-wheel drive, it's a 318 mile range. When I filled this one up yesterday to 100%, it was saying 292 miles of range, which I think is pretty good for what's basically a brick with the edges sliced off using a cheese knife. It does sometimes struggle to manage its weight. It's not on huge wheels, it's on 21s, which weirdly aren't huge these days. And when you hit a bump or an imperfection in the road, it doesn't do that annoying Jag Land Rover thing of slamming the wheel into the pothole. Make sure you really heard it, you know, like it's wearing lead diving boots. It's not that bad, but if you go over a crest, if the car just kind of gets some float on, it just goes ever so slightly blamongy. You know, it just wobbles around just for a second or two afterwards. It's not terrible, it's not going to make you seasick, but it's just not an ultimately super sophisticated riding car, but it doesn't put me off driving it. I think the thing I'm not a fan of most is the steering. It's just quite twangy. Feels quite, I don't know, like there's a load of elastic down there rather than a physical metal connection between the steering wheel and the wheels. And there actually is, because these days you have to check, don't you? So I did check, and no, this isn't steer by wire. It's not computers doing it for me. It is a legitimate steering column, but it's just a bit, I don't know, artificial somehow. So, Yes, I know it is a lot of money for a Kia, but then this is quite a lot of car as well, and there are very few choices if you want 7 seats moved around by electricity. There's the Citroen e-Berlingo, which has about half the range. There's the Volvo EX90 coming soon, and I might add quite a lot of Volvo in the styling here, but the Volvo is going to be about 100 grand, and there is a Mercedes that's so boring I've forgotten its name. So the EV9, it looks terrific, it goes quite far on a charge, and for most people that'll probably be enough, even before you get to the clever eco interior and my favourite bit, the seats, which straight out of Chandler and Joey's apartment.
What we have here then is a pretty unpretentious family hauler, a workhorse in an Iron Man suit, and a car that asks you a brave question.
Yes, you'd probably prefer a Range Rover until it breaks down, or any SUV with a Porsche badge. But do you need one?